Playing because they don't play in the right key.
Pardon?
What did you play?
Just
guitars aren't tuned though.
What?
It's hard to tune that guitar.
Do you want to play an E minor? It's better for you?
No, the key's good. I just have to tune it.
What makes you think I have to do me in you have to think I have to do?
No, because I just tuned that one.
How you tune this?
Shlomo, 4 years ago tonight was... 4 years ago tonight in Yerushalayim, we did the wedding for Yeshua's friend from Holland and Tahara.
Yeah, was tonight?
Yeah, it was the Sunday night of Parshat Chayei. And that's when you made the nigun and the way to put the Utsu Eitzah.
What?
The nigun, the way to put the words Utsu Eitzah.
Yeah? Okay, let's see. Sometimes, you just need people to push them together. I went to visit them. The kids are so cute, So, they're together. Anybody recorded that wedding? It was a Gewalt wedding. It was on the roof of Migdal David.
I have some of that.
Yeah?
I think so.
Can anybody transcribe it?
The chuppah. Mr. Shem.
Yeah? Okay. I don't know if I did we learn Chayei over here now? I mean, Vayeu now. Yerushalayim maybe. I remember 2 Torahs I said, but I'm not sure if you learned it last year, 2 years ago, 100 years ago. One Torah I said that, why did the angel come the first day of Pesach in the morning? What did it have to do with having a son Yitzchak and getting and wiping out Sodom? So I said to Gewalt Torah, every year Avraham Avinu also had to say, why they did everything they're doing. Because Avraham Avinu and so are sitting by the Seder, and they have nobody to ask them on Ishtar. So that year was Mamash Avraham Avinu's 99. And she is 89, They were crying all night for Ishtar. When will you give us a child to ask us for Ishtar? So that night the crying was so strong. Which was the deepest. The next say the Malachim came. And you see what it is? Why is Seder night? We say Kol Dichon Yetzel Yechem Hamish, inviting everyone. Yeah, what happened? You hear? Because on that day we wipe out Sodom, and the most anti-Sodom is Kol Dichon Yetzel Yechem. So, basically it's Avraham Avinu's day. So, because the angel came and said, "You'll have a son Yitzchak," it's Manishtana. But obviously, I'm not sure if it's true, but obviously the Malach first said we'll destroy Sodom. So we say Kol Dichon. And then the angel said, "You'll have a son Yitzchak." So the Kana ben Shaya. That's one Torah I remember. And the other Torah, I think we learned, I'm not sure, maybe even in your house, I don't remember. You know, Avraham Avinu, Avraham Avinu was serving God so much and so long, and suddenly after he saved Lot, and he finished the war with the 4 kings and the 5 kings, the First World War, suddenly he says to the Moshe, "What's going to be with me? I have no children." So just, I don't know if it's good or bad, what it was learning, that why did Avraham Avinu, why did he mingle in the war? Because they captured Lot, and Avraham Avinu knew that Mashiach is coming from Lot, so he went to save Mashiach. It was his first mamish real, connection to Mashiach. You know what it is?
Why is it like that?
You have to move up a little bit, I think. No, okay, good. Yeah, what do you say, brother?
But also is a stuck that Mashiach is so hidden, like all the things that, like Lloyd, he wasn't such a big tzaddik, and he was like a Mashiach came out of him, Lloyd. And also,
No, the country, it didn't come out of him because he's such a tzaddik. Because the whole thing...
No, I mean to say, every holy thing always comes out from something that's not
crazy.
so holy in the beginning.
Yeah.
Why is it?
Because...
Like the story of Yehuda.
Yeah. Because all the rabbis say the same thing, because everything we have to do with Mashiach is so awesome. Somehow. Brother Devil wouldn't let it happen. Mamish Gevalt in, everything. Anyway, so I said that until Mashiach, you can give over God to your students, right? And you think this is what it is giving over. When you get a taste of Mashiach, then you realize the deepest depth is to give over to your children. So much deeper. I don't know if some of you remember that Moshe Rabbeinu, the Torah was given in Chutz La'aretz. Moshe Rabbeinu gives over, Moshe given Torah Messina, gives over to his Chassidim, right, to his students. Siska Torah, Rav Shimon Minchot gives over to his son. Because the deepest depth of the Torah is mamish between parents and children. So after Avraham Avinu tasted mamish, with Mashiach Solovat, he says, that kind of depth I can only give over to children. My children, hopefully. I will learn a little bit from here in the Helge, it's Yaakov. If you have strength. Okay. Okay, first of all, the way we translate Vayera Elof Hashem is that God revealed himself to Abraham. And everybody's asking, but ever God revealed himself to Abraham, it's always says God revealed himself to Abraham. And it says something. Here it says, and he revealed himself to him. He didn't say anything. And also doesn't say to Abraham. Okay, so here's what all the rabbis say together with him, Ishbitzer. The real translation is not, and God revealed himself to Abraham. But God revealed to Abraham himself. God revealed to Abraham who he is. You know, the Mishnah would always say, I'm not so crazy about the Gila that you obviously had all the time. He says, I want the Revelation to be Megala my Neshama to me. I'm waiting for give me Neshama. What do I need Gila Neshama for? And here's the deepest depth. You know, in the Zohar Kodesh, the tree of knowledge is not called the tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge could have been is called Ilma Desvega. Ilma Desvega. You know, I can keep Shabbos all my life, learn Torah day and night, and somewhere in the corner of my heart I still don't know what's the right thing. Maybe not, right? You know what I always say, who are the Frume Yidden when they see somebody doesn't keep Shabbos, they get wild, angry. And then somebody who always keeps Shabbos, talk to them, I wish I could invite you for Shabbos. What's going on there? See the person who's 100% with Shabbos. Remember, this here is not into Shabbos here, we got to help him, right? Isn't it, if I'm healthy, and I see somebody walking, limping on the foot, I yell at him. I wish I could cure you. Because for me it's 100%. But if there is a little illness fake, I'm still not so sure myself. I am. Then everybody who doesn't do what I'm doing, you know, triggers off the same fake as, you know. Well, why should I keep Shabbos? Because this he looks cute to me, so I get angry. Oh, he's disgusting, right? And ice water, you know, the whole thing. What happened when we got into the covenants of Montreal? So the Ishbitzer says, until entered the covenant, he did everything God told him to do. But it was a little bit hard. It was hard. He had mamish like to force himself a little bit to do it. To force himself a little bit. Why do I have to force myself? You know, anything which is, I'm clear 2,000% enough to force myself. You imagine I pass by a river and somebody is drowning. I don't have to force myself to jump in and get them out. It's too big a step. Someone calls me up and says, can you do me a favor? Can you please walk barefoot from here to San Francisco? You know, do me a personal favor. If I would do it, I would have to force myself a lot, right? It's just crazy. You wouldn't even walk down to San Francisco. It's very important, you know. I may do it, but I have to force myself. So he says, why do I have to force myself? Because Avraham Avinu so far did everything God told him to do, but God was not shining into him what he was really doing. God was not shining into him yet what it is to be an Alach Yidus, what it is to be an Ovet Hashem. So Vayera Elof Hashem, God was shining into him. Mamash, God was shining at him. So it was clear to him, Mamash, what I'm doing is 100% right. What I'm doing is 100% right. You know why? Until this day, when he invited guests, the Torah doesn't even tell it, although he was inviting guests already since the age of 48, nearly 50 years. Because obviously when he did it right. But it was still, he had to force himself. But Mamash, after he entered the covenant with God, God was shining into him. So the Mamash cleared to him. When you are machnes eurech, gewaltig. What kind of a life you bring, what kind of a light you bring into the world. What is the Eurer Gunners, you know? The hidden light, the deepest depth of everything. You know, imagine if we would mamish have a taste that each time I do a mitzvah, I fill the whole world with light. I have no problem doing it. I run. So he says, because until he entered the covenant with God, he was not 100% purified yet. It was something. He says, can you imagine how much simcha Woman had before he entered the covenant, right? It's also a gebad, right? But it doesn't compare the Enaroich to simcha he had to do what the version wants him to do. Oh, this is so deep, you know. I'm sure you remember we were learning at the time. If I would be alone in the world, I wouldn't need a name. Basically, my name is only for others. And yet, but there is something inside of me, it's just not leaving me in the world, but just between me and me. This is so deep, so deep. So far God revealed himself always to Avram, the name. Means Avram the way he is in the world. But Hashem. Okay, this is basically a term from what Kokutz about that every year has two functions. One function is to be in the world, between me and the world, and then just between me and God, between me and the Rebbeinu. This is deepest depth. Until he entered the covenant with God, the prince was just a form in the world. Amish, making the world should believe in God, but it was not between him and God so much. The Yireh of Hashem, just between him and God. Okay, now, First of all, basically, this is the difference between the avodah of Avraham and the avodah of Yitzchak. The avodah of Avraham was in the world. The avodah of Yitzchak is just between him and God. Sure, when he has a chance to do something for the world, it's okay, but this was not his major function. Yitzchak was mamish beino leben kohen. Mamish between him and God. So here, when Yitzchak was just about to come down to the world, suddenly mamish a new Parshat again. And you know, the way we are with God, that's where we are with people. You can be Machnus Eurech, I can have 2,000 guests, but between me and the guests, nothing is happening. Yeah. So his mom said, oh, why you want to have hair and get mother? He said, I can serve God. I can keep Shabbos on my life. But between me and Shabbos is nothing. What's the holiness of a Yid? Mamish bein mieben b'nei Yisrael. Between me and the Yidden. You know, I watch sometimes their New Year's, right? What's the problem? There's nothing between them and January 1st. On January 1st they get wild, right? Nothing between that person and their New Year's, right? By Yid, bein mi eben b'nei Yisrael. So Vayera Eloh Hashem. Suddenly what the Moshe was shining into him, mamish between me and God. Like between me and God. Okay, what's the Dome all about? First of all, if you see a poor man, and you can manage not to give him anything, even if he's dying of hunger. Obviously, there's nothing between you and that person. You know, I can give tzedakah, but for me and that person, nothing's happening. Sometimes you give one penny to poor man, between is so strong. Well, you know something awesome. Why did Chava talk to the snake? Why did the snake talk her into? Because obviously she was married to Adam, right? But between them was nothing yet. So she talks to the snake. So Adam says to her, don't eat the forbidden fruit, so you have to listen. This is the inner is fake, right? Everything. I'm not sure if it's true, right? If you remember, the Malachim asked him, where's Saw? He said, he never iron. You know, but I feel connected to a person. I want to be alone with them. Until that day, Avraham Avinu was married to Saw, but this mamish between him and Saul wasn't there. Because between me and another human being depends on between me and God. And I want to say something deep to steps. Between me and God is what is between me and my children. Also. Remember, we were learning it that the first time we find the word father in the Torah. Actually, the first time a person called his father, father. It's Yitzchak. He never walked up to the Keli. The Yom HaElabo, when he said, Ovi, no father. You know, I was telling Machem and Shu, you see, by all the assimilated Yidden, they call their parents by the first name. And Mamash makes you vomit, right? What is bugging you by it? Because my father's name is Charlie, right? On Wall Street, everybody calls him Charlie. I'm his child. It's a different relationship. I need a new name. I need a new name. And if I can be happy to call him Charlie, it means I have no special relationship with him more than on Wall Street the secretary tells him if stock is going up or down. See, why did God give Avraham Avinu a new name? Because Mamish could have given the name of Avraham at the first meeting, right? Let's go to Israel from now I'll call you Avraham. Because it was not. You know, when you love somebody very much, there's this between you and him, and you give the personal name, right? Like little children when they're born, there's so much between them and their mother. They call the babies 2 billion new names, right?
Mm.
What? Sorry, oh yeah. Yeah, hold on. Right. Okay, let me just knock off the tire from this young. This one is crazy, you know? Like the whole Parshat, right? You know, it is possible to love the whole world, which is not so hard, but you have no relationship with your own wife and children.
Mm.
I don't want to say anything bad, I've seen this by thousands of people. Heartbreaking, right? Last Parshat is Avraham. Avraham Avinu in the world. This Shabbos, something else. How much Avraham Avinu, how he's relating to one person. And you see, if you have this holiness, one person, then every poor man who walks in, devours your heart open. If you love the world, it's another one. What was the crazy thing the Germans did? They give us numbers, right? Why don't we give human being numbers? Every human being is something else, right? Germans give us numbers. Stones have numbers, trees have numbers, bagels have numbers, human beings have numbers. Have you ever noticed, you ask a little way out, not so real Yidler, as how many children do you have? You'll say 4, right? 5. Have you ever watched you ask an Emerson Yid, how many children do you have? Dad has 4, oh my God. Imagine you ask Yaakov, how many children do you have? You won't say I have 12. You have Homer, Shimon, Levi. You know what's this so about? By Lot, he's rather giving out his daughters because he took over from Avraham just loving the world, right? A stranger, you have to love him. His own children, who cares? Unbelievable. I'm just stuck here all the time. Anyway, this is the Torah. Why is it so hard to relate to one person? It's very hard, right? This is what it is. What is Sodom all about? You know, there's chesed, giving, and there's kibur. There's two kinds of kibur. This Montreal is what's because basically he says Yitzchak was also chesed. Abraham highlighted as Yitzchak. But you know, imagine 1,000 pieces of cake, right? And the other people come and ask me for cake. But I know my 2 children are coming, right? So I'm holding back. Right? Gotta give them for my children, right? So that holding back is Gevurah Sheb'chesed, right? I'm holding back because I want to give to my children, right? It's not holding back. This is what Yitzchak is. Yitzchak is holding back because he wants to give only to the one who most deserves it. But basically, see what Avram realized the moment Yitzchak is already in the air. That holding back is a pretty good thing. See, until an angel came and told him that he'll have his son Yitzchak, Avraham Avinu is mamish, you know, chesed lakay, don't hold back, give everything. The moment Yitzchak's neshama is coming down to the world, now holding back. You gotta hold back. And he says the deepest depth. Sodom and Yitzchak cannot be at the same time in the world. Because Yitzchak is mamish holding back in order to give so much more out. Then I'm giving out cake to everyone, right? Give everyone a piece of cake. The way I give to my children, so strong. So when Avraham Avinu realized holding back is a very good thing. So why did you fix Sodom? Because basically it's a good middle to hold back. The only thing it needs to channel on when to hold back and how to hold back. So the issue is Islam suddenly Avraham Avinu realized holding back is not always bad. The only thing is Sodom needs Tzaddikim to fix it.
Why did you say Yitzchak and Sodom cannot be together? I didn't get that.
Oh, right. Because if Yitzchak and Sodom are together, and Sodom has a little time now, he's also holding back, right? It's very delicate, the difference. So before Yitzchak is born, Sodom has to be wiped out. Because this kind of holding back cannot be in this
It's bad. So if Yitzchak would give it like reinforcement, would legitimize it.
Yeah. Something like that, yeah. Listen, if I would say it, I mean, it would be nice, you know. I think with Yaakov's system.
Can you say that again, Bama? Why can't we do together?
Let's look up again. Now that you're saying it.
Yeah. Because there's a holy kind of holding back and there's a non-holy kind of holding back, and the holy kind would give it the chizuk, and that would be bad. So it had to be erased, so there's no such a thing anymore in the bag.
Yeah. Also das war's. Wenn das sehr häufig mit der Pecha Sedoim können wir das Yisro, die Kadesh Tier einmal Chise,
That will give him something to hold on to, but the same
Could you interpret what you just said in Hebrew?
You would have said in good English, well.
They need a professor with an English literature.
Show them your English is good.
Since the equality of Stam was holding back, and the equality of Yitzchak is the holding back of Kedusha, so if Yitzchak would be around at the same time that Stam was around, so then the Stam would have a grasp on Yitzchak's holding back. And they shouldn't have any part of this. They shouldn't be able to take anything that he was doing in Kedusha and use it for their...
What is this holding back, I don't understand.
Looks like there's always a parallel between the Kedusha and the Hebrew of Kedusha,
Right
which
there,
may look
yeah.
similar, but they're not the same. So you can always make mistakes. The Chokhmah is not to make a mistake, it's to always know everything, being Chesed, being Gvur, being everything. Like there is in Kedusha 7 madregas, there is in Tumas 7 madregas, and they look a little bit the same. But only big tzaddikim know what's the right way, what's the wrong way.
Okay. Without getting political. You know how many billions all the nations of the world promised to the Palestinians to give them? I think the upper rate is at 220 billion. What are we going to do with that? How many billions did they give the Yidden when they came out from Auschwitz? Not one penny. I was to tell you something awesome without telling you sad stories. After the Second World War, there was a big meeting in San Francisco, and all the world leaders got together to decide how to help the refugees from the Second World War. Every nation was invited, every minority who was never suffered from the Second World War. You know who was not invited? Us Heathen were not invited. Heathen, that wasn't there. Like 45, 46, right at the end of the war. So, Reb Zeev Wolf, he was at that time the top Mizrahi man. But he was a grandson of Reb Hershel Tomashova, the Kotzke Rebbe's Gabe. He was like, he was a real Kotzke Chosid, but like, mamish to the point. So he and another person from Eretz Yisrael went to San Francisco. They were not invited, they didn't let them in. They sent mamish letters, heartbreaking letters to Roosevelt, letters, didn't want to talk to you. Didn't even bother answering. Then he's coming out in a wheelchair, brought him up, and the Rolf again crying, he says, please, give us attention, 6 million Jews were killed. Their little children, mamish without parents. The Lord says, I have no time, told us, passed him by. He and mamish had a heart attack on the spot. And he died a few days later. Couldn't take it. So much wishes, Listen to this. When we came out of Auschwitz, no one was paying attention to us. And here they give 200 billion, right? You know what it is? Gewalt, they're holding back for something good, right? Something is bad. Awesome, right? Do you know Germany? You know how much he had to beg Germany to give him the back of the one that stole for the Palestinians? Next few years, $35 million. What the healthy people, nobody bothers them. Nobody persecutes them. If they would behave like mentioned, they could have had the best life. They definitely live better in Israel than Saudi Arabia, right? It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. See, I want you to know something. Why is Mashiach coming from Sodom? Ruth. Because basically it's really crazy. Why is he coming, right? It's holding back, right? Maybe Sodom, right? What is holding back? Like it's going to come as a mamish kaval. Remember there's, in Hashanahs we say, Hashanah Sholosh Shos Hashanah. Help us in 3 hours. And there's a medrash more that the last 3 hours before Mashiach, if Mashiach would come 1 second later, it would be too late. It would be no more world. Be no more world. I want you to know the deepest depth. What's Torah Sheba'al all about? You know what Torah Sheba'al is? I'm learning and I don't understand the word. I'm up all night learning. But then suddenly God opens gates to me. And I understand, right? So, God is stingy. Why is he holding back? See, Torah Sheba'al, and here I want you to know something very, very deep. Torah Sheba'al is wrong. Torah Sheba'al, God didn't hold back. When he spoke to us, I'm not signing, opened all the gates for us, and gave us over all the secrets. Mama's Torah Sheba'al is everything. The written Torah. Our Torah Sheba'al, the oil that we can add. This is only given to you. Because the deepest secret is only hidden men can do this. The holiness of us hidden. We know the secret of holding back. Basically, I want you to know it says in this form. This is mamish very, very deep. Everybody's so tired.
Maybe
Okay.
a good song would wake everybody up.
Yeah?
A little music.
And this
Thing is that I'm so hot. Okay, you have to help me sing.
Shlomo, du musst singen cooler Jörn. Kannst du singen, du kannst singen.
So is that vision singing?
Show him. To collect this honey.
Okay, just in the shoe.
And after that, Capuchins to have a son came from London. This morning I was teaching for 3 hours.
With a cough drop.
I didn't like that.
And Shabbos,
Yeah, but it has to be kosher.
No, he has. We have kafkas. We have kafkas.
No, but she has
Sing cooler Jörn.
They're kosher.
Of course, I invited my school
Really, you're allowed. Oh, here's like, I need my phone.
It's in the hall. I haven't heard SOA night for a long, long time, like 20 years.
Really, I believe you. But they always say that people when hear old songs, buy the tape.
I bought the long playing records a long time
Brother,
ago.
if I sing it to you now, it'll destroy the taste because you remember how good it sounds when I sing today.
Yeah,
I'll help you sing it.
Yeah.
The older it gets, the better.
What's wine?
Chanel. Chanel. Give me harmony. Chanel. That's what's up. Anybody knows where the weight of this name? You know the story?
Yeah, you heard it from the record album from back on.
You know, one time I gave a concert and an old lady comes to me after the concert and she says, Rebele, everything you sang today was wrong. I say, why was it wrong? She says, I have a record. The summer with a beard, my record on the record cover, and he sings it different. I said, listen, my dear Bogashi, the person on the record cover is me, humble me, and they're meine Guten. She says, I don't care. Everything goes wrong. But anyway, the story is, you know Avraham Shifrinam, you know that, right? In a nutshell, I give a concert in Haifa, and there I see, I walk around saying hello to everyone. I see a Yid with a little beard sitting there, shining. Awesome. I woke up and talked to him. So a woman next to him says, he doesn't understand Hebrew or English, he just came from Russia today. She says he was 5 years in prison and 10 years in Siberia. And one foot never froze off in Siberia, was only one foot. What they pay for a ticket to go to Israel, right? Anyway, I said to this woman who spoke Russian, she was his interpreter, please tell him to come tomorrow morning for breakfast, I want to talk to him. So he came. He was like, he says to me, I want you to know, last night at your concert, Mamshe closed my eyes, and I saw you dancing in front of the shul in Moscow. So you have to go. If you remember 1971, I went to Russia to Montreal because of a war. It's a whole long story. You know? Coming back next year, and a woman says to me, I'm getting married to a girl from Kishin, Kashin. And I said to him, so who's making your wedding? No, he has nobody, right? He said, well, I have some friends from Russia. I said, listen, Mom, I'm your best friend. I'm making the wedding for you. I decided to make it the second night of Slichas on the beach in Tel Aviv. And before the wedding, I went to all the big hotels, and I told them that one of the top, the Cyril Zion, let me just add this one thing. You know, the 6 million suffered from being Jewish, not for their connection to Israel. The Russian Jews suffered for their connection to Israel, not because they're Jews. And obviously, before Mashiach is coming, if to go through so much pain for our connection to Israel. And the Russian Jews did it for all of us. But anyway, to make it very short, I'm going to the Hilton, to the Sheraton, to the Plaza, Diplomat, all those Armada Continental. Do me a favor, have a Gewalt wedding. I want you to put that some psychedelic light on the beach, you know. So from 12 on, the lights were blinking. And everybody is walking on the boardwalk, says, what's happening tonight? Word gets around, there's a wedding, right? So you don't send out invitations. Half of Tel Aviv is there, right? Word gets around. This one Yidden walks down on the Yakon, then he comes into Dizengoff, he says, you heard it, you see this psychedelic lights, right? So before long, 1 o'clock, the beach is covered like from Mitzrayim Bad Hena, right? About wedding. Anyway, I was talking to a mom at a chuppah, you know. I think about where the worship was guiding you. So, by the chuppah, I made up this thing, Shabbat Hafkidilch. Well, you know, after the chuppah, the dance like great, you know, walked up to a lot of Yidden and I say, you know, the push to Yidden, not the rabbis don't know what's going on, push to Yidden. I said to them, did you see Eliyahu Navi? And when Yid says it, his name is Ma Talabrito too. You didn't see him? could you not be there, right? Anyway, so this is the name, gotta sing it strong. you have a good story?
I think Zed mentioned before that, or maybe Nachman was talking about how things are so hidden, and yesterday's Haftarah with Elisha was also about how from a little bit of oil she poured gallons and gallons of oil. So, I don't know why, but it reminded me of the story that this Yid came to, I think it was to the Apter. He was a poor man, he had to marry off a child and he hardly had any money. So the Rebbe took out a ruble and he gave it to him and he said, I want you to go to the marketplace and do some business. So, what should I do? So he said, well, the first thing that you can buy it. So he goes to the marketplace and he goes over to one businessman, goes over to another businessman, everybody is making fun of him. Well, how much money do you have to invest? I have 1 ruble. So everyone's laughing at him. So he sees this couple of Jewish businessmen, they're sitting and playing a game of cards, smoking. Goes over to one of them and he says, Rabbi, can I do some business with you? I'd like to maybe be your partner. They were diamond merchants. So this guy says to him, he says, how much money do you have? He says, I have 1 ruble. He starts to laugh. He says, for 1 ruble, I'll sell you my portion in the world to come. My Chayei in Olam Haba.
Abriel.
Yes.
It's a long leg.
So he, so this chassid says, fine. He says it's a deal.
Keep on going,
He says it's a deal. So he buys it, and this guy thinks it's a big joke. So the chassid says, let's mark it down on a piece of paper. He doesn't know much about business, so he figures it's good to make it official. So he writes down, I so-and-so, Hershber is selling you my portion of the world to come. And the Yid is happy, he goes home, and Hershber goes home, and he says to his wife, he says, you wouldn't believe what kind of fool I met today. He wanted to do business with 1 ruble, so I sold him my portion in the world to come for 1 ruble. His wife says, what? So he says, what's the matter? I sold him my portion in the world to come. And he can't understand how come she doesn't find it funny. So she says to him, listen, you better go and buy it back because I'm not staying in the house even one night with a person who doesn't have a portion in Olam Haba. So he says, you're kidding. She says, no, I'm not kidding, you better go now. Anyway, so he goes to find this chassid and digs him up and he says, listen, the chassid, he says, that deal that we made, it was just a joke, right? So the chassid says, no, it wasn't a joke. So he says, what do you mean, So he says, I'll give you 5 rubles, give me my portion back. So he says, no, I'm not selling anything. He says, I'll give you 10 rubles, 10 times as much as you paid. So he says, I'm not selling anything. So he says, B'shirgan, and he goes home. Comes home, his wife says, so, did you buy it back? He says, the guy's nuts, he won't sell it. I'm offering him 10 rubles, 10 times as much as he paid, he won't sell it to me. So she says, I don't care how much you have to pay, you better go back and buy it. So he sees that she's really serious.
Was Kenyan hat man eine starke Chazuke.
So he goes back and he says, how much money do you want for this? He says, listen, my Rebbe told me to buy, he didn't tell me to sell. So he says, your Rebbe? Who's your Rebbe? Let's go see your Rebbe. So they go to the Rebbe and they come in. And the Rebbe says to the Sid, he says to the chassid, how much money do you need for the wedding? So he makes a cheshbon of everything that he needs. He says, I need 1,000 rubles. And for 1,000 rubles, you're willing to sell back his portion in the world to come? And this Hershber's Rebbetzin came along. And he said, yeah, I'll sell it for 1,000 rubles. So he said, the Rebbe said to Hershber, he said, okay. He said, okay, buy it. So he paid him 1,000 rubles for his portion of the world to come. Now, I don't know if this is the real end of the story, but they say the Derech Tzachis that on the way out, this Hershber's wife says to the Rebbe, do you think my husband's portion was worth 1,000 rubles? So he said, now it is.
The punchline I heard is that Chaim Shana says, yesterday you had no share in the world to come anyway. And even the ruble was too much. But now that you gave a 1,000 rubles to Mayor of his daughter, the world, have a share in the coming world. There's a story, Amnocham Chernobyl came to a city and they wanted to make a mikveh. They wanted to make a mikveh, but they were all poor and only one rich Yidden was there who had money to build a mikveh. These are not going to build it. So Amnocham says to him, would you give the money for the mikveh if I give you for Mashiach in the coming world? Well, he's not stupid. They're handing him Ramon Chernobyl in the coming world, you know? He's 100%. Good. Thank you so much. So later on, people came back to Holy Hashem and told him that the biggest chosek of Noam Chernobyl gave his Shem become a word to somebody in order to give money for the mikveh. So the Hashem says, I would like to have the share the coming word of that Yid who gives up the share of the coming word for the mikveh. That means when you give up your share the coming word for a mitzvah, you don't lose it when they say, wow, what a Yid is this, God. Gives up his share the coming word for a mitzvah.
It's only if you don't know about that and you give it out.
Sure, well, you have to give it with all your heart, yeah.
You know, like, a lot of those things, if you know it, then it's no big
There's an
deal.
unbelievable story which I heard in Bobov. It's called Judy. Chaim. This is a good story to remember. I heard him in the Bobov Rebbe. So he says, there was a Yid Reb Shepsel. You remember Reb Shepsel, no? Yeah? A little bit. Do you remember Judy?
I remember
Shepsel.
Yeah.
Reb Shepsel got married when he was 17. Then his wife and him had like a grocery store. You know the grocery stores, you open 6. You stand there like animals till 12 at night. You know, you're dead tired. This goes on. So the Heilige Reb Shepsel says, so listen to me, the way we're operating now, none of us will ever do anything. I'm ready to spend 3 times traveling to the Rebbe's, 3 times at home. 3 months traveling, 3 months home. And on the half of what I'm doing will be for you. Every word I'm learning, every Shabbos I'm spending with the Rebbe's, will be half with me, half for you. So his wife said, okay. In the meantime, he had a shouldn't go up. When he was almost 3 months at home, 3 months with the Rebbe's, anyway, this was going on for many, many years. One day, a very, very old lady, maybe 75, you know, comes to Shlomo. You see, he began as a son of the Chossid. They became a Shinova. Then he went to other Rebbe's. Finally, he ended up with Shlomo Lubavitch. So this woman comes to Shlomo, and Shlomo says to her, who are you? She says, I'm the wife of Shepsel. And I came to take him to the Torah, to a court, how do you say it in Torah, to
judgment.
Simple. So the Holy Son says, we gotta call it Rav Shepsel. Rav Shepsel comes, and Shlomo says, so what do you claim? And she tells us the whole story. And she says she's so afraid when they come up to heaven, her husband would say, I don't remember the whole story. So she wants him to sign the paper now that he gives her. So they did, right? So Reb Shlomo Bobo starts yelling at them. It's Reb Shepsel and he says, You crazy? You're selling giving up half your share? What makes you think you have a share in the coming world? Because you're quetching a bank here, a bank over there, you eat soup on Shabbos by this Rebbe, next Shabbos you eat soup by another Rebbe. That's all it takes to get Olam Haba. You threw both of them out. So the whole thing is stupid. After they were out, he says, knock the door. He says, I just didn't want them to know. I just didn't want them to know. But then he says, I want you to know, if I would be Reb Shepsel, I would ask her for a share, half of her Olam Haba. It's the And the Baba Rebbe said, you know, Reb Shepsel was for all the big Rebbes. When he was 17 years old, there was still the Kuzma. Heilige Kuzma was still alive, and all the big Rebbes. Then he came to Saz. And then he came to Reb Shlomo Lebover. When Reb Shlomo Lebover left the world, he came to Reb Tzia. Reb Tzia says to him, Reb Tzia was 21 years old, Yibel was 85. And he has seen all the Rebbes. So Reb Tzia said, what are you going to do by me? You know? It's a joke. You saw all the big Rebbes, and now you'll be my chassid. It's not for you. He said, I'll tell you what. I want you to go to all the big Rebbes. But just remember, if you want to come back, the doors are always open. So he left for a year, went to all the big Rebbes, Bez, all the others. And then one day, the present Bob Rebbe told the story. That one day he came back, he ran into the Medrash, and Mamish ran up to the Rebbe, because he sent him out to find somebody better. So he says, Rebbe, there is nobody better than you. Wow. You know, when Rabbi Tzim was 15 or 16 years old, a big Rebbe came to visit Reb Shlomo Lebover by his father. A very big Rebbe, I don't forget the name. So Reb Shlomo says to him, would you like to see something? A Chiddush, we get to see something unbelievable? He says, sure. He says, come I'll show you my son Tzim, the way he davened. So he took him, Tzim was down there in the cellar to be, no disturbances. He goes in the cellar, and they look at him. Mamish, you know, Baba Rebbe says, my father, he said, would make a hole in his heart. It's every way of davening. So, the Rebbe looks at Rebbe Tzia the way he davens. I said, never seen a Yid. In Yiddish, it's a good word. He says, I've never seen a Yid making holes in his heart with every word he utters.
That's the Rebbe today said about his father?
No. He told the story. Because Reb Shlomo Lebover said was Rebbe Tzia.
About his son.
Son, yeah. Never seen a Yid.
Father like that. I don't know if it's true or not. There's a comedian, his name is Shimon Jigan.
Yeah.
So he tells the story. He told it in like this public forum. When he was in the concentration camp, he was together with the Bover Rebbe's brother. This Bover Rebbe today had a brother.
Yeah.
And they were together.
That's good, yeah.
I don't know his name, his first name. And Shimon Jigan tells, he told it in the Knesset. He was invited one time for like this special thing or something like that. I had the tape. So he says, I was together with Bover Rebbe's brother and I asked him, how come Rebbe, du bist doch a free how come all the nations in the world, all oppressed people, they have somebody who puts up a thing, you know, they go in the UN there's somebody. We Jews have nobody in the whole world. Why is it? Why don't we have it as a nation, a state? So Shimon said, the Rebbe told me, I'm promising you that we are also going to have a state. We're also going to have somebody who's going to zahunen and fein. So there's a Yiddish. I'm not going to be able to see it anymore, but you are going to be able to see it because you have an assignment. You're going to have to be mesamech, you're going to have to be war, and you're going to live up to see it. But there is a big light. This. You know the name. It says the Rebbe promised him. I see that he didn't eat any breakfast. Yeah, he didn't. Shimon tells on him that he didn't eat any breakfast. It's not kosher.
No, he didn't have long,
And he couldn't clear last out. So, but he says, "Divas to see the label, divas a mission in life. You have a job. You have to be mesamech. You have to do war." He says it as
unbelievable.
It's Messiah Lefitumah. I think it's a true story. Liberally.
Let's sing one more good name.
You want to sing an old song for me?
For you, I'll sing as your hand. I'd rather just holding back for the end because you're the best.
Oh, you're holding.
Carlebach, Shlomo,
You sing, now you sing.
Maar we gaan voor je te slip schrijven. Next time. Yeah.
No, that's good. Say, oh you.
Ve'yishtachavo Hashem, Yirad HaKodesh. Ve'yishtachavo Hashem, Yirad HaKodesh. Ve'yishtachavo Hashem, Yirad HaKodesh. Ve'yishtachavo Hashem, Yirad HaKodesh.
We come back next time, and Mr. Shlomo will be doing better, and we'll be back more than that.
Okay. I need two people. One to sleep for me and one to look away for me. Anybody wants to, listen to me. That's the best. People ask me, are you crazy? I said, no, it's not true. For money you can get anything. This is Kotzka Torah. The Gemara says, Yisro said to Moshe, you find judges and princes of 10, of 100, and he says they have to be wise and son of Betzer and hate money. So Moshe Rabbeinu found everything, but people who hate money he didn't find. So here comes the Kotzka twist. He says, for money you can find it also. That's like about it.
I got to go. It's warmer here. Excuse me, I want to shake your hand. You sing very nicely. Which synagogue do you perform? How was it?
Well, I'm a synagogue. I look like a synagogue. Maybe.
Which synagogue do you perform? I said, you sing. You sing
He
Jewish.
looks like a synagogue.
Yes, no? Yeah.
You're going to sing with Matzah.
In Shamli, that's what I asked you. Was young Israel in Shamli?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I asked you.
He's the chief rabbi of the world, not only Shamli.
I came to see you at the
Shlomo
dollar.
saying,
Dollar. Me, I was in Dollar de Zomo when you were there.
Last year.
I saying for Kedut and I saying the Shabbos, the cookie, the meat, the rest, the under, the second part. It's like the... Yeah, that's in the book.
It's the biggest hit now.
So you
They're
want?
singing the Kram. And the first
Oh,
part.
you do the whole game.
And the ending,
Never tried that. Chapiludem was there and
There's some drinks on the table if you'd like to have a drink before we go. And thank you very much for coming. And hope to see you next time. Shlomo.
Here's Hashem.
Be'ezrat Hashem.
Wednesday.
No, I was from Europe. 1947 to 49. Sure, I'll mention it.
Is he on the way or not?
Dort aber gar nicht 2 Jahre.
What about this whole site?
Aber nach dem alle was dan in
What is shy for? I go to listen to I was there. Who was there? 3 Hazurim were there. Who? I go and listen to all the concerts, Hazurim concerts. You the Chazan Shamadi?
I am